they can
I want
qualify
you to
for.
pay attention to this.
This is what I've been telling people on the channel for the longest time, is if you want to have any shot at being able to buy a house or refinance a house in this case, or get anything that requires credit, you need to stay out of debt. You need to pay your debts off on time, because the more debt that you owe, the less you'll be approved to borrow in the future. And here's the problem.
Well,
when people go to refinance their house, oftentimes, what they're looking to do, especially in today's world, is they want to refinance the home for a larger amount. So they want to borrow more money against the house so they can do like a cash out refinance and take some of that equity off the table. But in order to qualify for that, you got to have a solid income. You got to have a low debt to income ratio. The less amount of debt you have, the better chances you're going to have of being approved for something like this. But if you're already living beyond your means and racking up credit card debt and personal loan debt, then you try to go after the house, might not work. So you're hearing this now from somebody other than me, guys. This is a mortgage broker saying that people aren't qualifying for these refinances because they're taking on too much debt and they're living beyond their means. Or maybe they're not even living beyond their means. It's just that the cost of life has gone up so much over the past 4 years that they have no choice but to borrow in order to keep paying the bills. You also have other people who are buried in debt. They make late payments, which results in their credit scores dropping. And once you start making late payments, guys, your credit score just starts going through the floor. And that's going to eliminate any chances you may have had at being able to qualify for a big refinance like this. See, look, this is what houses here used to look like this right here. And now the new ones look like that. Look at the contrast from this to that. That's the whole neighborhood, guys. This is everything. You can see some of them still exist, especially on this street. But some of these other streets, nothing but huge mansions going up. So it's not just mobile home parks, it's happening.
So he's also talking about how like a lot of mobile home parks are kicking people out, which was the last affordable housing for a lot of people. And that they're making them move, and they're maybe giving them, if they're lucky, a severance of like 4 to 5 or 6,000 in order to move maybe 30 miles their mobile home. But if they have to move, that means they have to purchase land. They have to do all these other things. And if you're already living paycheck to paycheck, it's probably not going to happen. You're going to lose everything. So this is what he's talking about, but this is what we're headed for. This is what we got set up for. And now that I'm really, really paying attention and seeing all the things play out at this very moment, I see that Biden had a lot to do with that as well. I feel like Biden has just as much to do with this as Trump does. And the unfortunate thing is that Kamala got caught in the crosshairs of all this, because I feel like Kamala really did in her mind want to make a change for America, to make America more prosperous and to rebuild the nation. This is not what these oligarchies want to do. The people that, like Trump, that are imperialists and oligarchies, they don't want you, regular people, to thrive. And they feed you a line of bullshit all day long so that you can't, they play you like a fiddle, okay? You're a song. They're playing you like a song. And you fell into the lyrics and the beat of the song. Let him continue.
Everywhere. Over in Seattle, whenever we had our elections going on, they actually approved a new transportation levy called Proposition 1. And what this is a property tax measure to invest $1.55 billion in the city's transportation infrastructure over the next 8 years. But now everybody in Seattle is going to be on the hook for paying this massive $1.55 billion bill. They say this money is going to go towards things like bridge upgrades, road repairs, new sidewalks, transit enhancements, and expanded bikeways. And so how they're going to raise this money.
Let me just say, did American citizens see when the COVID pandemic and they were allocating all these trillions of dollars for infrastructure rebuilding? Did anybody in their cities, in their states actually ever see any of that happen? Did anybody? Did anybody?
Is they are going to be raising property taxes over an 8-year period, which is costing approximately $530 annually for the owner of a median assessed home at $804,000 in Seattle. Now, while that doesn't sound like too bad of a deal, only an extra $530 a year, I guarantee you it's going to be more. Because it always is. They always tell you it's going to be one number, and it ends up being actually more in the end. And of course, that's just for the median price home. If you have a home that's gone up.
And he was just talking about property tax and that you don't really, you're never going to really own your land if you don't pay the property tax, and they can basically revoke. So you're basically renting, even if your house is paid off. When you pay property tax, you're renting your home. Anyways, let's just talk about this. So people went into tiny houses, right? Because they couldn't afford the housing market. And tiny houses at one point, and I followed the tiny house or the small house movement, mobile movement, or whatever you want to call it, for like 10 to almost 15 years now. Almost 15. Listen. Tiny houses used to cost less than $10,000 to build, which is why people moved out of their apartments and houses and went into tiny homes. Tiny homes now are into the 100,000s. 105, 160,000. You're talking about a house that has less than 500 square feet of living space. And they had tiny house communities, but just like mobile homes, because a tiny house literally is a mobile home, but a better built mobile home with better construction material. They're kicking them out.
In value significantly to going up much higher than that over the past few years, then you're going to be paying a lot more as well. This is costing homeowners over there $65 per $100,000 in assessed property value. And this is a $250 annual increase over the previous levy, so they already had one of these property tax increases in place before this, and here's another one that's going to start as soon as this one expires. So it's estimated that Seattle homeowners will end up paying an average of more than $2,300 towards city services. So Seattle's telling people it's only going to cost the average homeowner an extra $530 a year, but in reality it's going to be more like an extra $2,300 a year. But here's the problem, guys. Everybody who's like in favor of measures like this where they raise the taxes in order to fix this or that, this is what ends up happening. Because people who are against this are saying, listen, this is going to significantly raise taxes with little input from residents on how the funds should be spent. That's the key phrase right there, how the funds should be spent. We're paying all these taxes, but you don't get to choose how they spend the money. That's exactly how our federal government operates. Nobody said we want them to give a bunch of money to Ukraine. Nobody said give away millions and billions to illegal immigrants pouring into the country. Nobody voted for any of that stuff, and the government gets to do that at their own free will. And the other problem with things like this, of course, is the...
So, as much as I did not like a lot of things that Biden did or the Democratic Party did, because I feel America first, honestly, when it comes to financial upbuilding. I don't agree with giving Israel billions of dollars, trillions of dollars. I don't agree with putting Ukrainian citizens above American citizens, homelessness, and all that other stuff. I don't dig it, okay? But I also know that Trump and Biden are two sides of the same fucking coin, okay? And at this moment, because I really am fearful of what Trump was going to do, which is why I really pushed Kamala. I'm going to be honest. Even though she was Biden's vice president, the thing is, people don't understand that vice presidents have very limited reach when it comes to government. They can only do so much. So when people think that she was the one running the country, that's a goddamn lie. All the cabinet members that Biden had appointed, aside from her, were the ones running the country. Okay? So if you don't like what had transpired, you have to take it up with Biden and his cabinet members. Trump literally is putting people into offices that have zero fucking knowledge of that job. That's like putting a McDonald's worker. This is how it equates what Trump is doing. It's like putting a McDonald's worker in a critical care unit in a hospital and somebody that does brain surgery. It's like putting a McDonald's worker into brain surgery in a fucking hospital. That's the equivalent of who Trump has chose for his cabinet. Do you see the fucking insanity? Unqualified people are going into positions of United States management, because that's what it fucking is, and don't have any clue of what the fuck they're doing. And I'm going to play a video.
Burden falls on the homeowner, right? But everybody who lives in the city of Seattle is going to benefit from these programs whenever they actually make these improvements, if they actually do what they say they're going to do, right? So renters and people that are living for free are going to benefit from all of these things, but only the property owners have to pay for it. Now, that's not really fair, is it? I mean, if it's just a transportation issue and they need to fix up all the roads and make improvements to all that stuff, wouldn't it just make sense to collect a toll for people who drive on the road? So the more you drive, then the more you're going to pay the toll. It seems like it's only fair that people who are actually using the roadways the most should have to pay for it. That makes a lot of sense.
If you want to smell amazing all day long, you really need to try this. This is Sweet Luxury by Eternal Perfume Oils. It's inspired.
And yeah, I get it that property owners, they get to deduct some of their mortgage interest, and that's a tax deduction for property owners. But it doesn't really matter when you're constantly getting hit with all these increases from different angles. You know, you get a property tax increase here, you get an insurance increase there.
So
you
that's
get
that.
Another problem that comes up you have to pay for. It's just never ending as a homeowner. So yeah, you could say.
Let me go back to the previous video.
So I'm about to play you guys a clip of Trump's new Attorney General pick, Pam Bondi, that once upon a time would have caused conservatives to lose their minds. But before I show you that, if you haven't already, be sure and go over and hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 500,000 subscribers. We've crossed over 420. And so at the rate we're going, we may be able to hit it before the end of the year, but I would love to hit 500,000 before Trump takes office again. So if you haven't already, be sure and hit that button. Now, I've argued politics my entire life. I don't remember a time that I wasn't talking politics. And over the years, I would have arguments with Republicans, and they used to always tell me that a president should never have unchecked power, that the president should have checks and balances in place to keep him alive, because if we didn't have those things, then that would lead us into a dictatorship. I sat back and watched them cheer on the Supreme Court giving Trump and presidents full immunity for official acts. And when I said to them, wait a minute, now I thought you weren't for presidents having unlimited power. Well, he has to have it in order to be able to do his job. Those same people that said that when they were arguing with me in the past would always say that we couldn't have health care because that would lead to socialism, therefore that would lead to communism, and that would lead us right into a dictatorship. And any time we talked about doing anything that would move this country forward, it was, well, you got to be careful doing that because that might lead us into a dictatorship. And then they would say, you don't want a dictator because the first thing the dictator is going to do is take the guns. And if you want to get a really heated argument started up here in East Tennessee, just mention Democrats taking guns and everybody will be down your throat before you can turn around. I mean, they will lose their minds over this subject. And if anyone else had have said what Pam Bondi says in this clip, and if any other president had have agreed with what she said in this clip, rednecks in my part of the world will be losing their mind. But it's Trump, and it's okay, because they're okay with him having unchecked power, and apparently they're okay with him taking
car rentals, flights, and stays.
damn it.
including the most guns. Take a look.
So what we want to do is let law enforcement come in and take the guns.
Good.
They're a danger to themselves
said good.
or others.
Right now.
Well, they're because
He should do it
without
right
being
now, he
adjudicated.
said.
So because they're a
They should
danger
do
to
it right
You
themselves.
want them to take the guns and
When they are
not
committed.
go through 6 months of legal trials and everything else.
Exactly.
So there's the guy who is going to have unlimited power when he gets back in. There's the guy who has said he would be dictator on day one and terminate the Constitution anytime he's seen fit because he has to be able to do his job. And there he is agreeing that we should take the guns first. Now, I could so hear the MAGA trolls now saying, but he didn't say it, man. He didn't actually say that. He might have misunderstood her. He might not have really understood what she was saying. Well, here he is saying it back in 2018 that went right over their heads. Take a look.
And you're meeting with governors earlier this week, individually and as a group. We spoke about states taking steps, but the focus is to literally give families and give local law enforcement additional tools if an individual is reported to be a potential danger to themselves or others. Allow due process so no one's rights are trampled, but the ability to go to court, obtain an order, and then collect not only the firearms, but any weapons in the possession
Or
of that
might
individual.
take the firearms first and then go to court, because that's another system. Because a lot of times, by the time you go to court, it takes so long to go to court to get the due process procedures. I like taking the guns early, like in this crazy man's case that just took place in Florida. He had a lot of firearms. They saw everything. To go to court would have taken a long time. So you could do exactly what you're saying, but take the guns first, go through due process second.
So what I would say to all those Republicans that I've argued with over
Did you all hear that? Did you hear that? That was in 2018.
the years is you guys got played. You really got played, and you proved to me that you did not actually stand for the things that you said you stood
Hell no,
for.
they never
Because
cared
no
about
one,
the
no one out
Constitution.
there should want a president with unlimited power. No one should want a president with full immunity to do anything he wants to do. I don't want that for Joe Biden. I didn't want that had Kamala Harris became president. I don't want that for any future Democratic president. That is absolute insanity. And the fact that people would sit and argue with me for years and tell me that health care would lead us into a dictatorship, yet they sit back. And when Trump said that, and we showed them, hey, listen, this guy's saying these things. Well, I don't care as long as he does what I want to do. I don't care if he's a dictator. We got to get shit done. I actually had people say that. People that used to tell me that health care would lead us to a dictator said, I'm cool with it if he does what I want him to do. And those same people that used to sit and tell me,
That's that Trump
they'll
cult.
take the guns immediately. That's the first thing a dictator does. There is Exhibit A and B of him agreeing to take the guns first. Now, they've said so many times that red flag laws was unconstitutional. They've said so many times that stricter background checks was unconstitutional. Anytime that we try to do anything when it comes to the Second Amendment, anytime we try to do anything when it comes to gun control, they automatically chime in to tell us that's an infringement upon their rights. Now, you got a guy coming in that said he would terminate the Constitution if he needed to do his job.
Let me just say this. So, everybody in America is a pot of fucking frogs. And Trump put you in the fucking pot in 2016. And slowly turned up the fire. So you don't know that the fucking the fire, the water is hot to boil your ass. Honestly, I feel like Biden did the same. He kept the fire going. And Trump's set this term, dudes, dudettes, whatever you want to call yourselves. Now you're headed for the frog boil, like the full-on frog boil.